Hey Jeff, it's Tuesday. Man, last week's video was the longest one yet. And of course, it will serve as yet another slowly increasing pile of hate comments. So that's fun. It's kind of late in the day, and I'm still feeling a little, not sick, but just, So this week I thought I would just talk briefly about how I continue to love Sherlock Holmes, and also copyright stuff is a little bit crazy.
But as to sing the glory of the past from the future.
One of my current obsessions is the CBS show Elementary, which is a modern take on Sherlock Holmes, which has him dealing with being addicted to heroin, living in New York, and also Watson is a woman and Lucy Liu. It is really good. I can't stop watching it. If you haven't seen any of it, I highly recommend it. I can't really directly compare it to BBC's Sherlock because, well, I've sort of long ago stopped trying to directly compare things that I love. They're just all things that should be appreciated. Also, one of the things that definitely gives Elementary a leg up is that it is made in America, and therefore there are a bunch of episodes. They're on like episode 21 or 22 right now, which, of course, Sherlock has a total of 6. So numerically, there's a lot going on there. Gives more room for character development, as well as delving into and then building up more of the side characters. So all of that, very good. Watch that show, it's cool. But thinking about Sherlock Holmes has reminded me of a few things that have been sort of going on recently, or really for a long time now, I guess. Thinking about public domain characters and copyright and things like that. Because you see, in the UK, all of the original Sherlock Holmes stories are public domain. But that is not the case in the US, which has caused some weird things to happen. The last collection of Holmes stories, I think it's the casebooks of Sherlock Holmes, was published in, I believe, 1927, which is after the sort of expiry public domain cutoff thing. So those are still, there are like 10 stories, I think, that are still in copyright by the Arthur Conan Doyle estate. And so recently this has caused some problems because a couple of authors, Leslie S. Klinger, he's the one who edited the new annotated Sherlock Holmes, like giant collections that are awesome, and Laurie R. King, whose Mary Russell series follows a young woman in like the early 20th century who marries an aging Sherlock Holmes. I've not read them, but I have it on good authority. Those are also very good and worth checking out. But anyway, those two were co-editing a collection of new Sherlock Holmes stories by established mystery or sci-fi or fantasy writers. In comes the Conan Doyle estate to say like, yeah, we're gonna need our licensing cut on that. So, back in February, Klinger filed a civil action at the US District Court to try and officially get Sherlock and Watson and all of them sort of declared officially public domain. Because most of the, 56 original stories, most of those are in the public domain. Only 10 are not. There are only 10 that are still in copyright in the US. In the UK it is 0. In the US it is 10. But really, I kind of see the point there. I mean, the ones that are not in the public domain pretty clearly establish the characters, the dynamics, and all the sort of basics. The characters are in public domain, right? I mean, that seems pretty fair. If you want to reprint those last 10 stories, I could see your argument. But these people wanting to write new stories, wanting to sort of, remix and build on and make something new out of these great characters, are being told no, sort of arbitrarily. So I'm hoping that that case will go in Klinger's favor, and then woo, Sherlock for everybody, woo. In the U.S. I mean, because like I said, copyright's crazy. I mean, as somebody who likes to make things up and occasionally write them down, intellectual property is important, but situations like this where you're talking about the author being quite a bit dead and their characters being sort of owned not by them anymore, but by, in this case, the estate, so relatives at least, but then a lot of other characters and things that I have always liked, like, well, let's say Star Wars or various superheroes, DC or Marvel, they're owned not even by the people who created them, but by companies, by like big groups of, and so these are the people who lobby to keep extending the copyright thing. So Yeah, I don't know, I'm not going to go into it here. There was a CGPGrey video from about a year ago that does copyright better than I could hope to here, so definitely watch that as well, and also watch Elementary, and rewatch Sherlock, and also the Guy Ritchie movies with Robert Downey Jr. were really good. You know what? Everything with Sherlock Holmes is pretty awesome. I mean, unless it sucks. There's probably stuff that sucks. I don't know if I had anything else to say. Just sort of the rambling thing about copyright and Sherlock Holmes and stuff. I'm gonna go eat a chocolate bar or something, and then that will be that. So yeah, that's all for this week. This chocolate bar supposedly has bacon bits in it. See you in the future.
They will see